Darling, darling, you're beautiful. Gotta keep your head up. Never let anything bring you down. Sunshine will always come around. Stay strong, move on. You have such a beautiful soul. Let your energy radiate.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to your midweek yoga practice. Tonight, we are just in a little continuum celebration of spring and just seeing what that holds for us in the next weeks and months. So, we are going to have a little bit of support tonight. Highly recommend this. My cues will be using the block. So, if you have a block or something that you can lean on, great. You can put that up to the left side of the front of your mat. And then if you have a blanket handy and you want to use that for anything on the knees or even just to give a little bit of support in some of our forward folds, have that maybe off to the right side of your mat. So in the meantime, I'm going to invite you into a child's pose to start off the sequence. And that can be either with your knees together and your toes together, or you can spread out the knees to either side of the mat. Again, still keeping the big toes together, and then just sort of getting into your balasana. So sliding out the hands, opening up the fingers, engaging the palms, maybe a little lift at the center as the forearms lower and the head engages. This could be a wonderful opportunity to bring in a block. If you wanted to lie it between your hands, you can just let your hairline fall softly onto it. Otherwise, go for your full child's pose as you start to maybe close your eyes and take some long, slow, methodical breaths in through the nose and some steady exhales, just as long, if not longer, out through the mouth. Feel free to do any little wiggles or shimmies that is intuitively calling to you tonight. And maybe even allow some sounds to pass over the lips on your exhale. So maybe a little flutter of the lips or a little sigh or a hum as we settle in. And as you breathe in, imagine the earth energy rising up through the tops of each one of the toes on each one of your feet. The energy rising through the tops of the feet and the ankles and the shins that are connecting to the mat, circling up around the knees, up the legs, to the hips, the hip creases. Feeling the energy drawing up through the pelvic floor as it draws down to the sits bones and the tailbone. Feeling that energy engaging through each one of the open fingers of each hand, through the open palm on the mat, the wrists, the support of the forearms. Again, coming up the arms and maybe supporting that lift of the armpits, of each of the armpits. That's going to allow them to hollow out and maybe open up the shoulder blades just a little bit more. If we draw our chin in towards our chest, we can get a nice elongation of the cervical spine. And maybe on the exhales, just expelling the energy out the crown or the third eye, back down into the mat, back down into the earth. A couple of more cycles there. A little over a year ago, I gathered with some of you and offered a similar practice to tonight for the up and coming spring. And although at that time there was a lot of uncertainty, and now a year later, we are comforted by the thoughts of renewal and hope. So my offering today is to remind you, you are always supported. And finding that stability is only a mindful movement or breath away. I'd also like to offer this as a gift or an invitation to use your intuitive intellect as a guide on how to possibly reassimilate back into this new world that we are all creating and possibly grow in a new way of being. So we're going to finish up that breath and come into table, moving any props out of the way as we curl the toes under, getting a nice flex in the foot, really opening up the soles of the foot. Elbows will stack over wrists, shoulders over elbows. As we start to inhale, the gaze draws up, maybe keeping our eyes closed as the belly drops and expands, shoulders drawing back towards the hips drawing up towards the sky, getting a nice full extension on that long, smooth breath. As we exhale, tops of the feet press down. Maybe there's a gossamer string at your backbone, pulling it up towards the ceiling. As the hips and the shoulders drop, the head drops for cat. And then coming into your inhales and exhales at your own pace for cat and cow. And just remembering to take those long, smooth breaths, really enjoying each of the extensions of the pose, really getting to the end of the breath before you move into the next pose. Feeling the energy drawing up from the hands and the knees and the toes. And then maybe just expelling some of the energy out the top of the head or the third eye on the exhales as we come through cat. And then when you're ready, just kind of settling into a neutral position in table. Feel free to turn the palms. So if you want to make the fingers face towards the knees, you can open up the wrists there, and that might feel really good. For the inhale, the head is going to look down at the mat just to neutralize the spine. And on the exhale, we're going to start to look over that right shoulder. Right hip is going to draw towards the right side. So we're really sickling the body here. And then coming in for the inhale at center, and maybe coming over to the left side for the exhale. Maybe seeing if you can get that hip to draw towards the nose. Feel free to move the hands, switching positions. Maybe one is back, one is forward as we come to the right. And flip it again if you're coming to the left. Whatever's comfortable. You can also play with putting the tops of the feet down as we do these gentle little sickles. Again, inhaling for one, exhaling for the other perhaps. Or just inhaling at center and exhaling on your little sickles, opening up the side body. Most importantly, allowing the neck to really move freely. A little gentle movement of the shoulders. The rib cage starts to wiggle and twist as the belly sloshes around, starting to warm up. Open up, getting a little heat. And then maybe the hips getting a little bit fluid as we swing back and forth. Again, settling back into table. We're going to move the knees out towards the outer edges of the mat. The feet are going to come behind the knees. Again, toes are going to curl. We're going to press into the hands as we start to lift up. This is a perfect time to start your playlist if you haven't already. I'm going to start mine. We're going to lift our hips, pressing into the hands for this sort of bent knee, wide leg down dog. So we want the torso to really rest on the thighs as we draw the hips up towards the sky. The inner elbows are going to outwardly rotate towards the front of the mat, really supporting and giving a nice hollowness to our armpits. And if you want to walk your feet up just a little bit towards the hands, you might even be able to engage the heels onto the mat. Just really drape the torso over the thighs. Take a couple of breaths here. And feel free to step into one foot and then the other, maybe bending the knees, just walking your dog a little bit there. Straightening one leg, bending the other. And then just settling in once again, imagining the color red. Red is associated with the Muladhara or root chakra, which extends from the pelvic area all the way to the feet in this pose. The element associated with this chakra, as a reminder, is the earth. When you're ready, we're just going to walk the hands back towards the feet. Maybe take each elbow with opposite hand, coming into ragdoll. Perhaps that gossamer string now is attached at the crown of the head, it's pulling down towards the earth. Maybe the gaze is up towards the inner thighs, or you can continue to keep your eyes closed as you swing in ragdoll. Maybe left elbow comes to the outer left knee, right elbow comes to the outer right knee. Nice bending of the knee. And still see if you can just reach that tailbone up towards the sky as the crown draws down. Settling in here, imagining the color cobalt blue, which is associated with the third eye chakra, or the Ajna chakra. That's located between the eyebrows, and it draws back in the skull to the pineal gland. The element here that is associated with this chakra is light. We're going to take the hands to the hips now, and we're going to slowly rise vertebrae by vertebrae, allowing the head to come up last. Again, if the eyes are still closed, that's fine. If you want more stability, you can open it and maybe find a little drishti gaze right at the top of your mat. We can now heel toe the feet in together. If you want to set up in your Tadasana pose, hip distance apart on the feet, that's fine. Otherwise, you can bring them together for one big foot for stability. But before we do that, we just want to inhale, lifting the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana, upward salute. We're going to remind ourselves to draw the shoulders down, blades come together, elbows are straight, fingertips are engaged, reaching actively for the sky. Maybe the gaze comes up there, just over the bridge of the nose. We take a little bit of a back bend on the inhale. On the exhale, hands are going to come together in prayer at the top of the head. We're going to bring them down slowly and just let the thumb knuckles rest right there between the eyebrows at the third eye. Just for one breath, just drawing our little insight into the pose. And on the exhale, allowing those hands just to come to the sides, nice and loose. Grounding down on the four corners of the feet or foot. Imagining that gossamer string is now coming up through the ground between the arches of the feet, lifting the energy up. Knees are going to engage and draw up, thighs, as well as lower glutes. Maybe even the lower belly button just kind of draws in towards the backbone. And on the inhale, the chest will open up and rise as the rib cage also lifts. Shoulders draw back, and the arms are like little waterfalls off to the side. Maybe wiggle fingers, draw the chin back. That gossamer string now taking that crown right up through the sky. Maybe offering a little soft gaze or closing of the eyes as we just settle in, allowing the primal instinct and source of stability that the root provides. Let it be the base of your foundation to withstand any challenges or uncertainty. Also activating your insight to see the bigger picture and connecting to your intuition and imagination through that third eye. This is the source of happiness. It comes through the secretion of serotonin from the pineal gland located there. We're going to think of this as the eye of the soul, maybe our gateway from the I am to the interconnectedness of us all. Inhale, arms are going to rise up for Urdhva Hastasana. Exhaling, we're going to set that hip back, knees are going to bend, and we're going to come through chair, Utkatasana, until we can't go any further. The torso is really leaning on the thighs here, really bending in. We're going to start to fold over for Uttanasana. Pressing the hands to the shins, we're going to inhale, drawing the shoulder blades back. The face will be directly over the mat. Nice neutral pose here for Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. And then we're going to exhale, forward fold again. Walk out the hands. And we're going to finish another exhale in downward facing dog. Maybe more of your traditional dog here. Inhale to plank. So we're rising up high on those toes. Knees will drop on the exhale as the elbows bend towards the back body, nice and tight towards the ribs, for the chest and the chin to scoop up, pressing into the hands for low cobra, Bhujangasana. Exhaling, coming up through table and back into your downward facing dog. This time we're going to walk the feet up towards the hands to finish our exhale in forward fold. Inhale is going to come up for that halfway lift, really shining the chest, just gazing slightly forward over the bridge of the nose, or the invitation to stay inward with the eyes closed. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. Bring our fold through Utkatasana chair, sitting back, till we come into our forward fold. Inhale once again for that halfway lift. Exhale, hands are gonna come down, and then we're gonna just walk those feet back into our downward facing dog. Exhaling. Inhale, coming up on the balls of the toes for your plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin, low cobra for the inhale. Exhaling, coming back through to table and to downward dog. Hands are going to walk back towards the feet on this one. As we inhale, lifting up halfway, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rooting to rise, lifting out the Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, coming down into that fold through chair. Hip bones rising up towards the sky for the stretch. Inhaling, pressing through, shining the heart, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, walk those hands out to plank. Nice inhale here. Now we're gonna go with our intuitive mind and finish up your little vinyasa flow, whether knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga dandasana for the exhale. Inhaling for low cobra or upward facing dog. Exhaling back into your downward dog. Hands are gonna walk back towards the feet. Take that forward fold. Halfway lift. Forward fold again. Pressing, rooting to rise, rising up for your Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, coming through that chair pose. Forward fold. Rise up one more time for your half lift. Walk it out one more time for your plank. Go with your intuition on your vinyasa. Exhaling to come down. Inhaling to back bend. Exhale, meeting in downward facing dog. Nice sun salutations here, guys. Welcoming that longer, warmer, lighter energy to come in with the spring. We're gonna now come up on that left ball toe or ball of the foot. Take the right toes up towards the ceiling, and we're gonna bend at the knee. Really try to bring that right heel towards the right glute, engaging the thigh, maybe flexing and pointing that foot. Now we're gonna take that right heel and just bring it over towards the left glute. Trying not to overextend that right hip. We wanna keep the hips a little bit square over the mat. Keeping a nice equal balance between the three legs. And start to flex and point, feeling that energy coming up the shin, calf, front and back of the thigh, and maybe even feeling that engagement now at the right glute. The toe is gonna come back up towards the sky, lower that left heel. Step that foot up toward the outer edge of the right side of the mat. It's gonna be at the outer edge of the right hand. Great time to bring in your block here. As we exhale, we're gonna lower that back knee, flatten out the top of the foot, pressing in the left hand to the flat side of the block. Take that right hand, give ourselves a little hug around the left rib cage. Nice inhale here as the crown draws forward. And on the exhale, we're gonna just start to look right. Maybe the gaze comes up towards the ceiling as the hand peels up. Right hand up to the sky, nice energy flow happening from the left palm all the way up to the right fingertips. When you're ready, that hand is going to come down. We can just move the block off to the side for a moment. Come up onto the fingertips and go into lizard pose, but a little bit of a high lizard pose. So the right knee is going to track forward over the right foot. We're going to look forward and just come up on those fingertips, drawing the shoulder blades back, actively opening up the chest on the inhale. Again, eyes can just gaze over the ridge of the nose or close slightly. Inhaling, slide back and maybe allow that right ankle to just move forward a bit. So we want a nice 90-degree angle happening on the left side. The right leg is going to be straight, maybe a little micro bend in the knee as the right toes draw back towards the face. You can invite your block in again and just take a nice tall press of the crown up towards the sky. As we exhale, start to fold over. Now you can fold over that block. You can plant your hairline on it. You can build up from the block with two fists stacked one over the other, allowing the third eye to connect to that circle of forefinger and thumb. You can bring the block lower and try the same thing. Or you could walk their hands either side of that extended leg and exhale, folding over for half split. Ardha Hanumanasana. Couple of breaths here, really opening up that back right leg, maybe even driving the right femur bone into that right hip socket. Really pulling the toes actively towards the head. And when you're ready, we're going to come out, slide that heel a little bit so we can plant our foot and get back into that front knee bend. And just take another moment here to come up on the fingertips for a little lizard. Nice inhale. Before we plant the hands down, coming up on the left toes, popping up that knee, allowing room for the right foot to slide back and meet the left. Come back into downward facing dog, coming up on the ball of the right foot this time. Left toes come up towards the sky. We're going to bend that knee. And we're going to start to point and flex, just feeling that engagement of it pulling towards its own glute. And then we're going to just move it over slightly without trying to overextend that hip flexor on the left side. So we want to kind of keep the hips square to the mat, keeping ourselves equally balanced between all three legs. And start to point and flex. Noticing the energy drawing up through the calves and the shin, through the thigh bone, thigh muscles. Maybe that left glute is starting to feel it. And the engagement of that right leg, nice and strong, equally distributing the weight to the hands. Take that left toe up towards the sky, come back on the right heel. Now take that foot now on the left side, bring it up to the outer edge of the left mat, outer edge of the left hand, maybe inviting that block in as we lower the right knee and flatten that right foot. Taking that block again, placing it flat on the mat, pressing in with the right hand, maybe inviting that left arm to hug the right rib cage and start to draw that right hand up towards the sky. Maybe the gaze meets you there. Tracking in a little bit more on that knee towards the left toes. Nice breath here. Feeling the expanse and the openness of the right shoulder from the right ear. Nice energy flow. Before we exhale, bringing that hand down, placing the block off just for a minute so we can come into that lizard. Again, just coming forward onto that bent knee, rising up on the fingertips, opening up the shoulders. Nice breath here before we exhale, coming back, maybe slipping that heel a little bit more forward so we get a nice 90-degree angle on the back knee. Bringing in your block before we rise, bringing the crown up towards the sky. Toes are active. Exhale, folding over, maybe doing opposite hands now if you're stacking your fists. Finding a little bit of a balance challenge here when we're high up on the block. So we want to really press in with the tops of the foot in the back and the toes and really actively engage that left toe towards the face. Take the block off to the side, come back into our lizard just for a moment, high up on our fingertips. Before we come back up on that right toe, knee lifts, making space for the left foot to join the right, back into downward dog. On the exhale. Inhale, right toes are going to come up towards the sky and we're going to bring it up towards the front of the mat. Again, we're going to put that on the outer edge. Taking that block now, place it on the inner arch of the front foot. The left foot is going to pivot, so the heel is going to come back and you're almost going to be forming a line from that right heel all the way to the arch of the left foot. Nice stability here. As we place the block, we bring the knee forward, drawing it towards the right. We can even press the right elbow and stabilize it on the inner right knee. That's going to give us nice space to set up for our side angle pose to start. Feel free to invite that right rib cage up towards the ceiling. Nice breath here before we maybe swing that arm up and over the ear for an extended side angle pose. So just sort of leaning into that right knee. Nice breath here. Left pinky pointing down towards the ground. Nice extension from the outer edge of the left foot all the way up to the fingertips on the left side. On the exhale, we're going to actively press into that block, lifting it up with us. Left hand is going to slide down the back thigh as we bend into that right knee. Coming into peaceful warrior. So maybe the block just slides back a little bit further, opening up your peaceful warrior, allowing you to just bend in a little further. On your next exhale, straighten out that leg. Taking that block, we're hinging forward now. That block is going to plant on the outer edge of the right foot, setting up for triangle pose. So we want to make sure we got that nice kick in the heel. The left hip is just going to be facing forward. Again, feel free to invite that rib cage on the right all the way up towards the ceiling for triangle pose, Trikonasana. Couple of breaths here. When you're ready, bending into that right knee, come through warrior two. I even like to act like the block is a platter. From that platter, why don't we just take that block, place it to the top right of the mat. We can set up for a half moon pose here. So we're just gonna get little hops on that back left foot until we feel strong enough to stabilize that right leg, pressing into the floor, pressing that back leg back as if we're standing on a wall behind us. That leg's gonna flex, that foot's gonna flex, and the toe's gonna point towards the left. Maybe even just bringing that foot a little bit forward so we can see it. Hello, lifting it up, pressing in with the right arm, allowing that left arm to come up to the sky for half moon pose, Ardha Chandrasana. Really pressing in, grounding to lift, listening to your body, leaning on whatever else you may need other than the block. Before we exhale, now coming up through our warrior two into five-pointed star. Switching hands now, point that left toe towards the back of the mat. Right heel is going to kick back. Set up right now for our extended side angle on this side. So bending into that knee, setting up the block on the inner arch of the foot, pressing in with the left hand, throwing that right one up towards the sky. Whip it around over the ear. Pinky's going to face the floor as we get that nice stretch all the way down the arm, armpit, hip, outer edge of the foot. Drawing in those inner thighs, really feeling that stability, pressing that left elbow into the inner left knee. You might even be able to just lean back into your extended side angle pose. On the exhale, really using that press up and back into peaceful warrior on this side. You can even go for a half bind on the back arm, allowing a little bit more of a bend in the front knee and back bend. Exhale, we're going to straighten out that leg, start to bring that block to the outer edge of the left foot, setting up for triangle here. Just making sure we've got that right hip facing towards the right, so that when we take that right hand and bring the left rib cage up, we're really corkscrewing the body to open and lean back, absorbing all that energy through the feet, checking in, making sure there's a nice flow, nothing is constricted, tapping into those long, slow, smooth breaths in and out before we bend into that right knee and just take a little platter for our warrior two. And then taking that block and placing it to the upper left part of your mat, setting up for your moon pose on this side, stabilizing that left leg first, getting that left arm really in line before we turn the toes towards the right, maybe moving that foot out and up, waving hello, peeling the arm up to the sky. Maybe the gaze draws up as well. Feeling a little different on this side, possibly. Taking a couple of nice, cool, deep breaths, cleansing. Before we exhale, coming through that warrior two, up into our five-pointed star. When you're ready, we're going to walk the feet together and slowly start to rise by putting the hands to the hips, coming into our tree pose for tonight. So again, I offer you whatever is intuitively comfortable for your body. Root into the left side of the body, almost like we did in Tadasana, allowing the right foot to just kind of do what it wants. Maybe it's going to kickstand out, leaning on the ankle. The right knee is going to track all the way to the right, engaging that foot, knee, thigh, glute, belly, chest rising. Or maybe we decide to come up a little bit higher. Maybe you can do this with your eyes closed or find a little drishti gaze in front of you. And using that beautiful shape of the arch of the foot to even press into the calf is a wonderful option for tonight. Actively pressing thigh to inner leg to thigh or calf. Arms will come down and out as we start to grow the branches of our tree. Nice lift, sucking up all that beautiful energy from the moist, warm ground. The roots drawing up for the trunk to grow, branches growing, leaves extending out. And maybe we bring our hands together in Anjali Mudra. Imagining that gossamer string is coming up through the crown between the palms of the hands. Really feel the lift. As we exhale, start to bring it down, a little bit of twisting. And we can start to come onto the other side. So grounding in on that right foot, really feeling your stability. Intuitively knowing what you need or want on this side. It could be different on this side than the other side. Starting maybe with the hands at the hips for some stability, finding your drishti or closing your eyes. Arms will come out to the sides as the branches start to grow from the strong root and trunk of the tree. And maybe there's a little wind, so maybe the arms are your branches and they're just sort of, floating around, maybe loosening up the wrists and the elbows. Maybe the leaves on the trees are your fingers, wiggling them out. And when you're ready, taking that gossamer string that's drawing up from the crown to the ceiling or to the sky, and allowing the hands to come around it, Anjali Mudra. Almost lifting yourself up out of your roots. A couple of breaths here into Vrikshasana pose, tree pose. All right, exhale, coming down, shaking it out. Maybe bringing the heels of the feet together. Inhale with arms up like a ballerina, coming up on the toes. Start to exhale, spreading out those knees, lowering down, squatting down. Perfect time to bring in your block just to find a little bit of stability. We're not going to stay here very long. Placing that off to the side, maybe for a little later. Walk the hands to the front of the mat. The right knee is going to drop behind the right wrist. The press of the tops of the toes of that right foot come across to the left side of the mat as we take that left leg and extend it back. Maybe lowering the knee, flattening the top of the foot. Coming up to our fingertips, we can now take that block or the blanket that we have on the right side of our mat, and we can just slide that under the right glute for a little bit of support there. So we don't need to work too hard here. We want to just be able to press up. Nice lift of the crown, nice inhale. Opening up the chest, drawing the shoulder blades back, maybe allowing the tailbone to drop towards the back of the mat for a high pigeon. On the exhale, bend the elbows, lower down, and maybe try stacking the fists so that you can engage the third eye once again, almost to the earth. Couple of breaths. Checking in with the body, anything feeling a little tight still, maybe we can breathe into it with those smooth breaths. Or just allow the earth's energy to absorb into the body, or maybe the body just absorbing into the earth. Maybe just that thought releases a little bit more tension. Checking in with the face, seeing how everything feels in the mouth. Another deep breath here. Before we press the hands in to the mat, we rise one more time on our fingertips for a little pigeon pose. Before we exhale, curling that back toe under, Going to move that prop away, or maybe bring it to the other side of the mat so we can get ready on pigeon for the other side. Lifting that knee is going to give you some space so we can slide that right foot to meet the left, and then the left knee can come to the left wrist. Top of that left foot's going to plant to the right side of the mat. Lower that back leg, plant the top of that foot in the back, rising up on our fingertips. Again, taking any little prop we might want to just lean into on that left glute as we do our little back bend in pigeon. Opening up the shoulders, the chest, and the inhale. Maybe the gaze is just over the bridge of the nose. The chin looks up, crown draws up, tailbone draws down. Next exhale, we're going to come forward by bending the elbows and planting the hands once again, fist over fist, maybe going for the opposite one this time, and allowing the third eye to engage once again in that little circle of the forefinger and thumb. Nice cleansing breaths here, seeing how the change in the sides of the body are different, perhaps. Maybe you feel the same. Maybe you're just completely loose and sinking in, allowing the earth to absorb your body. And just going inward towards your insight and your intuition, your imagination through the third eye, curiosity, wisdom, all converging. Next exhale, press up one more time into our pigeon pose. Little back bend here. Nice breath. Let's remove that prop out if you have it. Sit onto that left glute, and we're going to swing the right leg towards the front. And if you want to come up on your blanket, you can just use that little bit of a lift under the tush, bringing the soles of the feet together for a butterfly pose or Baddha Konasana. We don't need to come too close to the body. We can have a nice diamond shape. Again, if you'd like to have Mr. Block join you, he can come right in between the knees. As we reach our arms up, that pelvis is going to tilt forward, which is why that blanket under there is nice. Inhale and exhale to come forward. And again, that might be just as high as the block. So we can bring the block or bring the forehead to the block. We can go for the fist stack, engaging the third eye. We can lower the block and try those same things a little lower. And if it's in your practice, you might be able to just come straight over and down, stacking those fists maybe on the inner arches of the feet, allowing the third eye to really draw towards the earth. So nice breaths here, loosening up anything that may be in the backbone. Taking some nice deep breaths here in your Baddha Konasana butterfly pose. On the exhale, rise up, extending the legs, a little bit of Dandasana here. Toes are going to draw up towards the sky, or just have a nice press of the hands at the sides into the blanket or the mat. And just drawing the crown up once again towards the sky. Nice engagement of the belly. Really beautiful little active fold, sitting stretch. Maybe remove that blanket. I like to roll it up, keep it off to the side, because as we get into Shavasana, we might want to support those lower backs of the thigh. Otherwise, if you want another block, you can go grab that. We're just going to slowly start to come into our reclined position on our backs, and then draw the knees into the chest. Maybe take the hands to the knees, a little side to side, massaging that lower back. Maybe some circles, working their way in. And then when you're ready, we're going to let those knees fall to the left side. just maybe stacking one knee on top of the other. Take the left hand and we'll just drape that over the thigh or the top of that right knee, maybe even reaching as far as the right hip. Now we're going to take that right hand and we're going to press it into the pectoral muscle on the right side. So we're just pressing down, drawing that right elbow towards the bottom of the mat, towards where your feet are, is going to really engage the fascia there. And maybe the fingertips just tap on the collarbone a little bit to start, just so we know that we're in the right space. As that elbow draws down towards the top of the mat, you're going to take your gaze in the direction of your legs, really turning almost onto that left temple and feeling that beautiful stretch that you've just created in that right neck all the way to the collarbone. And like I said, the fascia of the pectoral muscle. This left hand now is kind of free to give yourself a little massage, a little bit of love, maybe a little bit of hug around the right hip or the right knee. And I like to take my thumb of the left hand and kind of drill it into my hip crease and just wrap my hand around and give myself a little bit of a massage in there. Nice inhale and exhale, keeping that tension, that press on the upper chest with its own right hand. On the next inhale, the knees are going to come up back into center, and we're going to let them drift over to the right. Again, stacking one knee over the other, taking that right hand, laying it onto the left hip or left thigh, taking your left hand, pressing it into that pectoral muscle on the left side, tapping the fingers on that collarbone, really pulling that elbow down towards the top of the mat. We're going to take the gaze over to the right side, the side where our legs are, and just really actively pressing into that fascia, opening up the neck, and start your little massages. Maybe taking that right thumb and drilling it into that hip crease, just creating a little bit of space and opening. And perhaps just tapping it out. When you're ready, the next inhale, the knees are going to come up to the chest. Take any little movements that you need before we settle down into our Shavasana. Maybe a happy baby or legs up, allowing some of the toxins to just kind of drain from the feet. And then when you're ready, setting yourself up into your Shavasana, I'm going to go grab that little rolled towel that I had, blanket, placing that behind my thighs, taking the heels to the outer corner of that mat, allowing the toes to splay, opening up the arms slightly away from the hips, tops of the hands on the ground, and palms facing up. After absorbing all that energy from the earth, maybe just giving a little bit out towards the space, and always being open and willing to receive grace through those open palms. Taking a nice deep inhale through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, maybe making a sigh or a flutter of your lips. And just imagining that the back body is a sponge, and that sponge is starting to soak up the warm, soft earth. Maybe it's even a little muddy from March's rains. And imagine this sponge body soaking up that mud with all its nutrients coming in to the midline of the body, to the top body, and feeling the warmth of this wet soil. Maybe the mud just dripping over the toes, allowing them to splay a little bit further. Maybe knees just loosening a little bit deeper. Hips opening up, drawing down. belly soft, chest, shoulder blades, all drawing down. Tops of hands almost feeling like they're melting into the mud. Same for the back of the head as the chin and the jawline relax, teeth, tongue. Be taking a little inhale here, expanding the sinuses, and on the exhale, just releasing anything, maybe towards the cheeks and the ears. Breathing in one more time to the third eye, and on the exhale, releasing it down towards the temples, towards the back of the head. Finally, allowing the crown to release as we drift into our Shavasana for a few more breaths. Going to come and point our toes towards the bottom of the mat or the top of the mat, and the hands are going to come up overhead for a nice inhale, full body stretch. Maybe exhale as a yawn. As we slowly, intuitively turn to the side of the body that's calling us into fetal position. Taking one nice cleansing breath in here. Before pressing with that top hand into the floor, rising into a sitting pose, slowly lifting up, head last, maybe the eyes stay closed, coming into our Sukhasana easy pose. Sitting up nice and tall, maybe the string drawing the crown up one last time into the sky as we take our hands into prayer at the heart space. May you move into the warmer, longer, lighter days, feeling more grounded through your own intuitive practices. Inviting now the thumb knuckles to the third eye, bowing slightly, thanking ourselves for coming to our practice, thanking each other for joining in our community, either virtually or here live. It is my honor to practice with you. Namaste. Take care. Have a good week, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Darling, darling, you're beautiful. Gotta keep your head up. Never let anything bring you down. Sunshine will always come around. Stay strong, move on. You have such a beautiful soul. Let your energy radiate.